Hi, welcome to Homegrown in the Garden. Tomatoes are America's favorite garden vegetable. They are #1. Everybody looks forward to them because they're delicious, they are the taste of summer, and the tomato sandwich is a quintessential Southern treat. People tend to be attached to their tomatoes because they grow a fruit. Lettuce and kale are not quite as fun because they're just leaves, but a fruit is something to look forward to. There's an anticipation with it. Today we're going to talk about varieties to grow and their habit of growth. So we're going to talk about the variety that you should select for the area that you have to grow in. Not just the variety of fruit, but actually the variety of plant. So we have a determinate variety, an indeterminate variety, and a dwarf variety to choose from. Determinate varieties are a bush-type growth habit. They grow compact, all of their flowers come onto the bush at the same time, and all of the fruit comes onto the bush at the same time. And then the plant will senesce and die after that. This kind of plant is great for people who like to can because you're going to get a lot of fruit off of the bush at the same time. So if you're a canner, this is the type of plant for you. Also, if you wanted to buy some of these cages, they are perfect for determinate varieties. Determinate means you can determine how big it's going to be, so it doesn't ever get too big. Then we have indeterminate varieties. This plant is younger, so it's smaller, but trust me, it gets a lot bigger than this. Indeterminate varieties mean you cannot determine, it's indeterminate how big this plant is going to get. It's got a vining growth habit. You're not actually going to be able to use these. These are too small. This is going to drive into the ground and only give you about 3 feet of growing habit, and this could actually get as big as 10 feet to 12 feet tall. This you would want to stake up or trellis or grow against a fence and tie it up. This guy is going to get very, very tall. All of the flowers come out at different times and the fruit becomes ripe at different times. So if you're a homeowner feeding a smaller family and you don't need 25 pounds of fruit at one time, you can select 1 or 2 fruit a day that will come ripe so that you can have them with salad throughout the summer. Then we have the dwarf variety. The dwarf variety is a very small variety of plant. It has the growth habit of a determinate variety with the flower and fruiting behavior of an indeterminate variety. So our buddy Craig LaHoulier, the NC Tomato Ran who wrote Epic Tomatoes, develops a lot of these dwarf varieties. And these are wonderful for small spaces. They're perfect for containers, especially in the home, because you get a very small growth habit, but you get flowering and fruiting at different times. So these are very popular with people who are in apartments or maybe don't have a lot of sunlight except for maybe on a porch. Dwarf varieties are really wonderful to work with. Most of the varieties of tomatoes that you'll find out there to purchase to grow in your garden fall into 3 separate groups: slicers, paste tomatoes, or cherry tomatoes. We'll start with slicers. Slicing tomatoes are larger, they're juicier, they tend to have a lot more seeds in them, and these are perfect for eating fresh, either in salads or slicing for your favorite tomato sandwich or BLT or on top of a burger. These are really wonderful for fresh eating. Some common slicing tomato plant varieties you might find for sale are Better Boy or German Johnson, but all slicing tomatoes are good, especially when you grow them at home. Another type is a paste tomato, or also called a Roma type tomato. Roma tomatoes, you can almost always find one variety of Roma tomatoes in the grocery store, but you will also find plenty of them to buy in your garden centers to plant. These are wonderful for cooking. They have very little juice in them and seeds. They're smaller amount of seeds, so there's smaller amount of juice. They're very fleshy and pithy. The reason that they're perfect for cooking is that you don't get a lot of water coming off of them like you would if you cooked a slicer tomato. So that's why they're called sauce tomatoes, because they're easy to peel, they have very little juice in them, and they're just packed with flavor. Last but definitely not least is the cherry tomato. Cherry tomatoes are very easy to grow, and I recommend cherry tomatoes for container growing, especially if you're new to growing tomatoes. Some common types of cherry tomatoes that you can find plants for in your local garden center are Sun Golds, which are my favorite, Super Sweet 100s, or black cherries. If perhaps you don't have a minimum of 6 hours of sunlight that's required to grow a really large fruit like a slicer, tomatoes, little cherry tomatoes, are great to grow. They require less sunlight because this is a smaller fruit. so it does not require as much sunlight for the plant to make as much starch. So these are wonderful to start with because you can walk by your little plant and snack on them. They're a lot less challenging because if your plant succumbs to disease later on in the season, you've gotten a lot of these little fruits off of there quite a bit, whereas you have to wait a long time for some, like a slicer to get ripe. A little cherry tomato, they put off flowers and fruit continuously through the season, and you can snack on them every day when you go out and visit your plant. Wonderful for cooking or for eating fresh. So you can put these in salads, you can put them in sauces, you can put them on top of pizzas, or just eat them, pop them in your mouth and eat them just like they are.